Welcome back. We have Rob Shaw and Richard Zussman joining us on the show. They are the authors of this book, A Matter of Confidence, the inside story of the political battle for BC. It's there on the screen. Welcome to Campbell's, gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us on.
Yes. I understand this has already been named a bestseller by the Globe and Mail. Doing well so far. How long has it been out?
It's been awesome. So it's been out now for 2 weeks, and it's been incredible. The people in Kamloops and all across the province have been buying this book, and it's been really neat to see people's reaction, people posting on social media pictures with their kids reading the book and their dogs chewing the book, and people actually reading the book, which has been really, really nice. And so, yeah, Globe and Mail bestsellers list, the local bestsellers list in terms of BC publication. So it's been really gratifying. You know, we were told that people don't care about BC politics and won't read a book about BC politics by a lot of people when we were working on this, and I think they've been proven wrong. It's really neat to see that people are enjoying it.
Yes, for people who don't know, this book chronicles the time in BC political history between 2009 and 2017, the fall of Gordon Campbell, the controversial HST, into the rise of Christy Clark, and then the alliance between the Greens and the NDP to topple the Liberals. So that takes us right to 2017. 70 interviews over the course of 8 weeks, some of which you did together, many of which you did apart. Tell me a little bit about that experience. Who were the notables that you talked to, some of the things that you learned that perhaps you didn't know ahead of actually writing the book?
Yeah, well, we have to thank Christy Clark and John Horgan and Andrew Weaver for spending so much time talking to us. They were candid. And not only that, they allowed their staff, current and former, to talk to us too. And everyone wanted to make sure their bosses were okay before they started talking to us about what happened. So we caught everyone at a really awkward and raw moment. We did the work on this book in August, and the NDP had just taken power, the Liberals had just lost, and people were adjusting to their new roles, and it was emotional, but I think we got more of an unvarnished truth, and the longer you wait to do a book like this, the more people slightly revise history or it gets fuzzy, and so it was a rush for us to do. It was a lot of hard work, but I think we picked the right moment, and if we'd waited a much longer, it would have been more difficult.
I think a lot of people might have turned you down eventually if you waited. You sort of struck while the iron was hot. Richard, for you, is there anyone that stood out that you interviewed that you learned a few things about that you didn't realize in sort of the jigsaw pieces that make up the political story?
Yeah, the incredible thing about it is I think we learned something from everyone that we spoke to, things that we hadn't heard. You know, one of the stories I like telling from the book is this meeting of David Eby and John Horgan in 2016. So Eby was this rising star in the NDP, was making a lot of noise in Metro Vancouver around a lot of Metro issues. A lot of people thought he should have been the leader in 2014 after Adrian Dix left, but he had a young family. His wife just got pregnant, and then their child came, and so he decided not to run for the leadership. And then when Horgan was really struggling, people didn't know him, and he was struggling to connect with voters, there was a lot of talk before the 2017 election that maybe Eby should step in right then. And a team was starting to work behind the scenes to do that. And first, Horgan's staff told Eby, calm down on all these public appearances. We need John, the leader, to be out there. And then finally, there was this meeting between the two of them. And Horgan said to Eby, if you want to be the guy now, go ahead. If you think you can do a better job than me, go ahead. And it was an honest conversation, and Eby said, you know what, you're the guy, you're the leader, you're the one. And they ended up, their relationship was never stronger after that. They worked together leading up to the election. David Eby's now the Attorney General, John Horgan's now the Premier. So learning about that was interesting. Learning about this meeting in Penticton when Christy Clark was there as the leader, and Daryl Plekas stood up against that leadership. We detail a lot in the book about behind the scenes there. Hearing those stories were quite incredible. That Daryl Plekas was in his room, and he almost left Penticton before Clark actually quit, and he was going to send out an email telling everyone he'd quit the Liberal caucus, and they were trying to track him down and said, you can't quit now. Christy Clark has quit before you can quit. We need you. So learning all of that, you know, we're journalists, and part of what we love about the job, I think, is finding out new things and telling the public about it and informing their opinions. And so, you know, every interview we did, I think we found little nuggets that went to make the book better.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the entire province watching Government House the night of the confidence vote and trying to figure out what the Lieutenant Governor was going to do. We didn't know who was going to be Premier at the end of the night. And one of the things we got to do is we got to talk to people who were involved, and we paint this picture in the book of what happened inside Government House, the conversations. Christy Clark going into the room with a Lieutenant Governor, sizing her up, because Clark is a great reader of people, and knowing instantly she wasn't going to get what she wanted.
But she still tried.
And she tried for 40 minutes. They drank some wine together. We outlined their chat. And then she left and she sat down with her staff and she said, I don't think she's going to do it. I think she's going to call on John Horgan. And then we detail Horgan getting what's called the $1 million call from the LG's office and rushing over to Government House. And so that kind of drama, you know what, there's helicopters hovering outside. Richard and I were standing outside Government House, but to go inside Government House, that was a lot of fun to write those chapters.
It has almost the makings of a good TV movie, hasn't it? The last 9 years.
We joke often about who would play John Horgan, who would play Christy Clark, who would play Andrew Weaver.
I like Matt Damon to play me, but that's
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about the fact that the one person that turned you down, Gordon Campbell, you would have loved to interview him. He would have had a lot to say for this book, but he never got back to you.
No, he didn't. I mean, I covered Gordon Campbell when I started the legislature 10 years ago. I think he might be writing his own book. We're just getting to the point in history now where you can judge Gordon Campbell's legacy. He was so unpopular after the HST, basically driven out of the province in exile. But he was ahead of his time on the carbon tax and some other things. So we wanted to put him in the book because he's a contrast to how he ran government versus Christy Clark. He was he made all the decisions. Gordon Campbell ran his government. Clark discussed it more. And we also wanted people who were involved in the HST, this incredible moment. People really got galvanized over that tax. We wanted them an entry point into the book as well. So it's unfortunate he didn't talk to us, but I think it was still important to have him in as well.
How do you think the alliance is going now as we talk about the present between the Greens and the NDP? Are they having the impact you think that they hope to?
Yeah, I think there are big questions about what's going to happen next in terms of whether this LNG deal that the NDP put forward a few weeks ago will lead to the demise of this partnership. The date I have circled on my calendar is later this fall when the NDP presents their climate action plan. I think everybody that's watching BC politics needs to pay attention to that document. Andrew Weaver got into provincial politics because he didn't believe Gordon Campbell was doing enough on the climate legacy and carbon taxes and protecting the environment and cutting down emissions. And Weaver is around the table for this discussion on the climate action plan. Listen and watch very closely to see what Weaver has to say after that. If he's happy with the climate action plan, it means that this relationship will stay stable until 2021. If he is unhappy about it, I feel like that may be sort of the final straw to really weaken that relationship, and we may see the Greens make a move as soon as they can to bring down the government.
I think what I like best about this book, and I haven't finished the whole thing, I've just started like the first couple of chapters, but it's fantastic, it's comprehensive, it's easy to read, it's easy to understand, and I've picked through different areas of the book of things that have been interesting to me. But it's good to have a book that is that easy for the average person to pick up and try and make sense of these last 9 years, because they have been very crazy and very tumultuous.
We know that people came up to us, and we cover politics, and most of the time people think it's kind of an esoteric, kind of arcane thing. We had people coming up to us during all of this and talking to us about the Speaker and the makeup of the House. And we realized, and one of the reasons we did the book this way is that people got engaged for a brief moment in a different way in politics. And we wanted to write a book that was not a boring history textbook, not to dump on history textbooks. Someone will do a great one, but this is a read of an incredible time for people. You don't have to be a political junkie to enjoy it, and that's hopefully what we ended up producing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And who knows, in 10 more years, maybe you'd be doing the next chapter together as well. That's right, the sequel. Sadly, we're out of time. The time always goes far too quickly. Excuse me. But we would like to remind our viewers today that Rob and Richard are going to be at Chapters between 1:30 and 3:30 this afternoon. They'll be signing books and chatting people up. If you'd like to come and say hello to them and meet them. I know you're off to Kelowna, is it, next? So you're quite busy on a little tour right now, but here for a few hours this afternoon.
It'd be great to meet everyone who'd like to come out and chat.
And I'm sure there will be a few people who would love to do that. So again, 1:30 to 3:30. The website as well, matterofconfidence.com. We're back after a quick break. Stay with us.